This is my new hand-built, ridiculously long travel, German-engineered e-mountain bike by Nicolai. So I first tried this bike in Riva and I really liked it, and I ordered one basically the next week when I got home. And I've got to say, it's one of the, if not the nicest frames and paint jobs that I've ever seen. This has got a special type of paint on it. It's called Cerakote. It's a ceramic coated paint, and it's designed to withstand scratches and abrasions, which is just what you want really on mountain bikes. It's got this kind of shift on it, this two-tone effect. So as you move the bike around in the light, you can see it changing through these purple to blue hues. So let's get this bike built up with some proper burly parts that will be suited to a super long travel e-mountain bike. At the end of the video, we'll go for a first ride to find out how it performs. I do think alloy bikes have this certain vibe or aura about them. There's just something physically nice about these aluminium bikes and how they're produced. I did visit the factory and saw how they're handmade, CNC'd, welded together. But they're so different to a carbon frame, because carbon frames, when you look inside, you see all the stuff that they don't want you to see, like all the loose fibers, all of the chunks of resin, and it's kind of like seeing behind the magic curtain sometimes when you look inside a carbon frame. They're rough. The outside is glossy and they've got this lovely sheen to them, but carbon bikes inside look completely unfinished because they are. Whereas an alloy bike looks as good inside as it does outside. I don't know, there's something nice about that. It's like a decent carpenter wouldn't use a crappy piece of wood that you can't see. And this has that same kind of feeling of it to me. Everything about it, inside and outside, looks incredible. And Nicolai are renowned for these really industrial welds and this just chunky, kind of throw it down a mountain and robust and reliable vibe that they give off. I've been building up my parts drawer for months, ready for this day. So here's some of the best bits that will be fit onto the frame. So first off, we're going to pop in these Lewis brakes. They kind of look like the Trick Stuff Maximas. I think that's what they're designed after, but they actually get some pretty decent reviews and feedback online. So first, we'll install the brakes. I like to run everything from the back first to get all the fiddly stuff, all the cables, especially before you put the e-bike motor in. So we'll get all that done now. First thing is to get all the cables and wires installed before the motor goes in and blocks everything off. I've already installed the 600 watt-hour battery in the down tube as well. There's something really satisfying about building a bike from the frame up. I can completely customize everything. Talking of which, I wasn't a massive fan of the painted bash plate guards that come on the bikes, so I sanded mine down, primed it, and painted it completely black. Let me know if you think I made the right choice. The frame has adjustable chainstay lengths from 442 right up to 460 millimeters. Using these things, they're called mutators. I love having the option to customize my geometry. So you've got quite a lot of scope to change the geometry. The head tube, you can also fit a reach adjust headset on it. And there's some other cool details, like look at this little CNC charging cover here. It's just really neat. Now the bike actually has a 600 watt-hour battery, but you can use a range extender. This is an extra 250, so you'd have 850 watt-hours in total. Now, all the other bikes that I've seen that use a range extender, when you open the rubber flap, it's just kind of dangling there and it moves around. This has a magnet on the motor cover, and when you're charging it or you're using the range extender, and this is plugged in, and this is in the bottle cage. The range extends in the bottle cage. There's no flap moving around, so all these little bits of detail I really appreciate. The frame can be run in either 180 or 190mm travel. And I'm going to set the Fox X2 to run at the full 190mm, which is basically one of the longest travel e-bikes on the market. Because of the suspension layout, it runs a straight seat tube, so I can run a 240mm dropper, perfect for taller riders. And to make the bike ride as quiet as possible, I use these foam tubes. I try and run as many cables internally with these tubes as I can. It really does quieten down the ride. I'm fitting a 5mm reach adjust headset just to start off with. I'm not quite sure if it's going to work out too long. I'll see in the ride later. So the fork I'm going to be installing is a Fox 40, 200mm of travel, dual crown. Now, I've been riding dual crown forks a little bit on e-bikes, and they just make sense on an e-bike. The stiffness that you get both torsionally and fore and aft is incredible. They are 40mm stanchions, they're buttery smooth. I don't necessarily want it for the travel, it's more for the feel and the stiffness. In fact, if there was a 180 version of this, I probably would have installed that. But an interesting thing is lots of e-bikes are now coming with the podium, and you might think there's quite a big difference in the weight, but let me show you. So the podium's weight is 2,770 grams, and the Fox 40 is 2,850 grams. So basically these are virtually the same weight, but the 40, in my opinion, is a much more apt fork for an e-bike, and I do hope we see more e-bikes come with these forks. Because the down tube is using a thinner 600 Wh battery, I'm hoping there's not going to be clearance issues with the fork hitting the frame that you can get on some wider e-bike tubes. This pipe cutter from Nipex is my new favourite tool. It makes effortless, clean cuts on handlebars and fork steerers. I'm not yet sure about these silver Pembrey bars. It's not the bars themselves, but the colour. I think there might be too much silver with these chrome coloured brakes. These crank arms from Cane Creek are 3D printed titanium. They're as light as carbon but really strong, and they're quite expensive. But this is the third e-bike I've put them on, and they look almost brand new still. Alright, after a full day building, the bike is finally ready. So here it is. I've got to say it looks pretty extreme, doesn't it, with the dual crown fork. I think there's a bit of a stigma attached to dual crown forks. People see them and think, oh, you're going to go and do rampage or smash down hills, but actually just for regular enduro riding, it really offers quite a lot of benefits. So I absolutely love it. I've run it on 3 bikes now. So we've got 200mm out front, 190 on the rear. The bike can be configured with 180 out the rear, 180 out front. You've got loads of different options. But basically, it's like a mini downhill bike. It's a mullet with a dropper. So we've got some reserve carbon rims. They're the downhill spec rims, so they're not the lightest. They're around 2 kilos, but they're really stiff, really strong. And reserve wheels, I've heard, have a brilliant warranty. Never had them myself, never had to use a warranty, but from what I read online, got a really decent warranty. Now I'm running the O-chain on here. The O-chain separates the rear suspension effect of the chain growth, or it minimises it, and you feel less harshness or less kind of feedback through the pedals, even though this bike has not a huge amount of pedal kickback. 4-bar suspension layout. So the weight is 24.5 kilos with a 600 battery. So one of the downsides of an aluminium bike is of course the weight, but I think the robustness, the reliability, the spare part availability, the warranty might add a little bit extra over and above some of the other bikes. I mean, they're built so well. I've heard really good things about Nicolai's aftercare and them supporting the bikes for years and years and years after they finish production of them. So that's one of the things you'd get with a bike like this. But all the CNC machined linkage, the welds, just has this real kind of utilitarian, like really industrial look, which I quite admire. And I said it in the build video, I think they have a certain kind of aura to them, these aluminium frames, that you don't get with carbon bikes. So I think now I'm going to go and hit some trails, have a first little test. Let's see how it rides. Definitely feels longer at the front than some of my previous bikes. See, over this jump, it's just so nice. Oh, so good, man. Oh dear. Definitely need some more air in the fork. Maybe even the bar needs to be a little bit higher. Oh. Rear end is sublime. Yeah, the suspension is outstanding. Quite a rocky little chute. I think I might have the bike a little bit too long. I put a reach adjust headset in it. By the way, where I'm riding, it's just all janky, steep routes. So many routes to throw you off. It's soaking up the bumps, and I've got the O chain on, which just helps mute that trail chatter. Still not convinced on the brakes just yet. I'm nowhere near as powerful as a Maven. So good little fast ride. I kind of don't like riding such nice bikes in such ridiculous conditions for the first ride, but you ride it anyway in the winter, right? So it's going to have to be ruined at some point. It's given me a real good first impression. Fork definitely needs a bit more air, maybe a token added. Rear suspension feels absolutely incredible, like bottomless. Braking, under braking, it's so sensitive. Possibly the best, most plush rear end on any bike. And overall, I'm thoroughly impressed. So if you want to see more on this bike, make sure you're subscribed. It's my long-term bike. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.